decades, there have always been stock advice, don't buy when your shoe shine boy is buying, right? The grocery clerks. Rothschild said famously, you must buy when there's blood in the streets, even if it's your own blood. And so the cycles have been very consistent. You end up having the halving, where you have a new reality that you have half the Bitcoin that you had before. So the miners are losing money every day. It takes a few months for that to equalize and the price to go up to the last all-time high. At that point, all of a sudden, everyone's in profit. They have no idea where it's going to go next. So all of a sudden, there's massive speculation, and it pushes the price up very fast. And then retail pays attention, and they start buying right near the top. And that's the worst time to buy.
Hello and welcome to Markets Daily, hosted by me, Jen Sanasi. On this show, we navigate the currents shaping the crypto markets, providing insights against the broader financial landscape. So whether you're actively trading or simply fascinated by the volatility that is the crypto markets, this show is your compass to understanding where we are, where we're going, and where we have come from. On today's show, we are joined by the CEO of Transform Ventures, Michael Terpin. Michael, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, I've started probably every show for the last 2 weeks saying what an exciting time it is to be watching the crypto markets. I want to get your perspective here. What are you watching as we head to the end of the year?
Sure. So I'm watching how exactly we're performing in what I call Bitcoin summer, which is the second phase of the 4 phases that I call the 4 seasons of Bitcoin. Bitcoin spring is the day of the halving. It usually stays flat for 4 to 7 months after that, which it did this time as well. And then as soon as you pass the all-time high for the prior cycle, which was $73,850, that's when it takes off like a rocket ship. That happened on election day. And we went straight up to the cusp of 100,000, which these large numbers are often very hard to push past. And so we saw a little bit of a rotation, a little bit of a pullback, but we're certainly going to be passing that in the near future.
Well, tell me a little bit more about that. How near of a future do you anticipate that we'll be passing that? What can we expect, let's say, towards the end of the year and throughout 2025?
Sure. So we'll certainly be passing 100,000 in the next 2 weeks. And a lot of anticipation is around what is going to happen on January 20th when President-elect Trump takes office. He's made a lot of promises to the crypto industry. And so far, he's been following through in terms of his appointments being crypto friendly, and with him having both the Congress and the Senate GOP, he should be able to push through a lot of his initiatives. The first one, of course, that people are looking for is what's going to happen with the strategic reserve for Bitcoin that has been mentioned by both him as well as Cynthia Lummis in the Senate.
Talk to me a little bit about this strategic reserve for Bitcoin. This is something that the industry is very excited about. You've obviously been following the industry for a very long time. Is that something that surprised you when Senator Lummis announced this concept at the Bitcoin conference in the summer?
Did not surprise me that she did. It surprised me a little that, President-elect Trump would, sort of double down on that. Now, he has been a little bit less aggressive to date in terms of, his focus has been on taking the Bitcoin that has been seized and not going and selling it into the market. And so right now we have over 200,000 Bitcoin in that camp. Historically, prior presidents have just auctioned it off. And in fact, if you go to like the big Silk Road auction that Tim Draper bought for about $700 per Bitcoin, I think the U.S. government wishes they had those 30,000 Bitcoin today at prices approaching about $100,000.
We've talked about, I guess, a few catalysts there. Well, if we zoom out a little bit, we look at things from macro level. What are the catalysts you're waiting for? If we look maybe outside of President-elect Trump coming into office in January.
Well, that basically creates good macro. And the most important thing in the cycles is actually, which cycle we're in. The first cycle was 100x. After the first halving. I mean, the first cycle prior to the halving was crazy. It was like 3,000x from the first price to Bitcoin of a tenth of a penny up to $30 and then down to $1. The second cycle, which is after the first halving, we went up 100x and then down 85%. The second cycle, we went up 30x and then we went down 83%. The third cycle, I thought we were going to go to 10x. We ended up going to 9x, but still pretty close, despite really horrible macro with the rapid rise of interest rates from the inflation, et cetera. Now we've got pretty much good macro on our side. So we have tailwinds instead of headwinds. And with the diminishing returns that happen every cycle, we're looking probably at an average of about 3x the halving price, which would put us at about 193,000 by the end of next year. I think we'll beat that.
Well, that's interesting you say that. I heard you say that recently, that $190,000 target, but you noted that the range could actually be between 200,000 and $300,000 if the environment improves. What needs to happen for us to beat that $190,000 target you just mentioned?
I would say a couple of things. First and foremost, that the next head of the SEC is friendly rather than the extreme unfriendliness that we'd seen under Gary Gensler. Number two, there's a big difference between the strategic reserve, the way that President-elect Trump has postulated it, with just simply not selling Bitcoin, and how Lummis and RFK Jr. have said that we actually go and print money to buy Bitcoin. Um, you know, uh, it's also been suggested by a number of different pundits, Pomp included, that day one they should just take 250 billion and buy Bitcoin. Other nations would start following what the U.S. does, and there'd be a race for Bitcoin that would just be a domino effect that could shoot us very quickly up to 300,000.
Everyone listening to this show would be very happy people if Bitcoin hit $300,000. So uh, here's to hoping that your prediction comes true. I want to talk a little bit about the book that you recently launched. It unpacks some of the things that we're talking about that we have spoken about so far on the show. It's called Bitcoin Super Cycle: How the Crypto Calendar Can Make You Rich. Talk to me a little bit more about what is in the pages of the book and what folks who are looking at the crypto markets can take away from it.
Sure. So I wrote it for two audiences. First and foremost, for traditional investors in tech startups, real estate, all other categories of investment who are really smart, sophisticated investors. They're willing to learn about new markets like nanotech or clean tech, but yet they never tried to learn about Bitcoin to the extent of even reading the 9-page white paper. So in there, I explain why Bitcoin is so important, why it is becoming this dominant asset class that should be in every portfolio, what it actually is, how it works. I put the entire white paper in and I annotate it so that you can understand what Satoshi's vision was and how it's coming to pass. And then I go and I explain the four seasons of Bitcoin. Most investors don't realize that there are cycles in Bitcoin that are absolutely as consistent as those in the stock market and real estate, if not more so. And then I just sort of talk about how I believe that an investor should play it, which is not how most Bitcoin OGs do it, which is buy it, buy more, and never sell it, give it to your grandkids. You actually do much better if you go and buy it near the low of the cycle, at the start of what I call Bitcoin fall. The bottom of the cycle, which is the end of Bitcoin fall, start of Bitcoin winter. That's when the prices fall. It's only been 3 years out of 15 that you could lose money in Bitcoin. And it was always the third year of the cycle, 2014, 2018, 2022. That's when everybody's screaming that Bitcoin is dead. That's the exact moment they should have been buying. If you bought anytime in the few months after FTX, you would have been in Bitcoin at under 20,000 and you're already up almost 5x from there. And so really buy low, sell high. It's not a novel concept.
Tell me a little bit more about what you just said. Many investors don't realize that Bitcoin is similar to the real estate market, tech market. Talk to me a little bit more about that, the similarities, and why maybe traditional investors don't see the correlation or the similarities.
I'd say that they haven't been educated in terms of the consistency of the cycles. They just say, oh, I saw it dropped 80%. It's going to drop 80% right after I buy it. And that may be true if they buy when the headlines are the highest. I mean, stock market is similar as well. I mean, if you go back, decades, there have always been stock advice, don't buy when your shoe shine boy is buying, right? The grocery clerks. You end up buying, Rothschild said famously, you must buy when there's blood in the streets, even if it's your own blood. And so the cycles have been very consistent. You end up having the halving, where you have a new reality that you have half the Bitcoin that you had before. So the miners are losing money every day. It takes a few months for that to equalize and the price to go up to the last all-time high. At that point, all of a sudden, everyone's in profit and they have no idea where it's going to go next. So all of a sudden, there's massive speculation and it pushes the price up very fast. And then retail pays attention and they start buying right near the top. And that's the worst time to buy. And the extra liquidity of retail coming in means that some of the smart whales start exiting and they know they can buy back for a lot less a year later.
You talk to a lot of investors. What's a common misconception that investors who are entering crypto markets have?
I think the most common misperception is that there's no predictability,
Hmm.
and there is. Maybe not to the very day, but definitely to the cycle.
And we're talking a lot about Bitcoin. Obviously, it's hit new all-time highs, although there has been a little bit of a pullback recently. Are you watching any other cryptos, or for a traditional investor who has dabbled in Bitcoin, where do you usually tell them to look next?
Sure. So I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist. I call myself a Bitcoin preferentialist. At the end of the day, I want to have more Bitcoin, but I recognize that a lot of the new platforms. I mean, I was heavily involved in the marketing of the launch of Ethereum, the launch of Tether. So I go way back to the very first ICO in 2013 that BitAngels, a group that I started, pretty much bought most of the supply there. And innovation is happening much faster on non-Bitcoin platforms. It's slowly happening on Bitcoin, but there are a lot of things that you can make 100x in something new if you get it at the right time, but you can
Yeah.
also lose everything. Bitcoin, you're not going to lose everything. I mean, it's obviously a very small percentage that's going to go to zero at this point, but you're not going to make 100x this cycle, whereas you can in some altcoins. If you just want to set it and forget it, you can go buy Bitcoin, look and study just literally twice every 4 years when to buy and when to sell more, and that's going to be a return that beats the stock markets handily, going forward for at least the next few cycles. Particularly as we're going into what I call a super cycle, which is when we're going to sort of modify the diminishing returns because we're going to have a lot more of the population owning Bitcoin, and it is a limited and fixed supply of 21 million, of which we've mined almost 20 million already.
Any altcoins you're watching?
Yes, I don't want to show them on TV, but
Okay.
I basically, obviously, you can't, ignore the meme coin cycle at this point. And there have been some tremendous narratives that have gone, from 20 or $30,000 to $1 billion, and everybody's trying to figure out what that next narrative is, and that's something that usually happens at sort of the start of a cycle,
Mhm.
sort of happens sporadically within it. We haven't really seen the altcoin surge yet. I mean, most of the sort of top 50 altcoins are at depressed prices compared to even the spring of this year, and so the typical rotation is Bitcoin will go up first, then Ethereum, then sort of the top 50, and then finally the smaller altcoins, and then the bubble pops.
Now, the last thing I'm going to ask you is about an article that we published on CoinDesk today. CoinDesk journalist Amkar Godbol wrote 3 reasons why Bitcoin risks falling below $90,000. The reasons that he outlined in the article were Bitcoin traders purchased protective put options in response to Monday's 5% decline, the Coinbase premium indicator highlighting a decline in demand for Bitcoin in the US market, and the daily chart reveals a bearish RSI divergence, signaling potential weakness in price momentum. I want to get your thoughts there. Do you think we're going to see a pullback for these 3 reasons that were mentioned below 90K before we hit some of those numbers you mentioned at the top of the show?
I did read that article. He's an excellent analyst. It's
Mhm.
certainly possible that we'll pull back below 90. It's not going to mean the end is near, although it will certainly show up in the fear and greed index going back, under 80. I think that that's a buying opportunity because it's unquestionable that we're going to be over, 100. So if you want to make a quick 10%, that's the way to do it. We ended up going briefly under 50,000 not that long ago when the reaction to the yen trade, and that was an exceptional buying opportunity. People almost doubled their money within a few months. So you have to remember that in past markets we had much bigger pullbacks. After on the way up, we would have 30 and 40% pullbacks. 10% is nothing.
Michael, thank you so much for joining Markets Daily today. It was a pleasure having you on, and congratulations on the launch of your new book.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to our audience for watching and listening. If you enjoy listening to Markets Daily, subscribe to the CoinDesk Podcast Network that is available on all podcast platforms. And if you enjoy watching the show, we are on YouTube. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you tomorrow.